I don't know if anybody caught that, but you said you are a dog slitter. Okay. So I don't know if everybody caught that, but how did you get into that? Like you're from Jersey.
I'm from Jersey, all right.
Hello and welcome to Center for Victory's podcast of Your Best Day Yet. At Center for Victory, we're here to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. I am Eric Guy, Chief Victory Officer at the Center for Victory. With me today, Dr. Lucille Madalena. She's a coach, author, speaker, and trailblazer. She has her doctorate in education and organizational dynamics. I'm going to let her talk a little bit about herself because it's very fascinating. She brings lots of experience and I think lots of inspiration to those who are listening and watching. But one of the things that before you get into yourself, Lucille, rather than live to work, let's all seek ways to work to live. Find joy in the everyday, celebrate the relationships, invest in the challenges, and take pride in the final product of your endeavors. Wow, that's
Yeah.
great. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
Very excited to be here today.
Yeah, so you just give us a little bit of background of your experience because I think it's very fascinating. Again, what you actually do with
Okay.
with your all
Okay.
your education and experience.
Well, let's start with the education because that's what got me started. I was very shy in high school, very shy. And for some reason, I was lucky enough to receive a scholarship to Rutgers University. I was the first woman accepted into the labor education program, which
Wow.
means I was working with a lot of men with a lot of history in labor people. And so I certainly learned how to get over being shy quickly. And it turned out I wasn't the first, that wasn't the first time I was going to be the first woman to do something. I've broken a lot of barriers. I'm an old lady in some quarters, you would say that. Um, but I've been there and done that. I know what it's like to take that step, that take the risk when you're the only one there, when you're alone, and you just have to keep barreling forward. That's why I just put out this new book, and it's about my time on the trails as a musher. And I titled it "Moving On By." On by is the sled dog command that says, "Pass that obstacle that's in your trail. Get off the hard path if you need to, get in the deep snow, push and get past that obstacle, get past that team, and keep going." Um, and it really does say a lot about what I'm hoping my message is. I believe we should all be inspired and inspiring. Life is far too short. We want to work. You want to work to earn your living. You want to be proud of your job. And I think that's essential to have pride in work. And if you're going to work, find a way to get some joy out of it, whether it's the connections with others, whether it's the work itself. Sometimes the work is really boring. Maybe it's the environment or the outcome of the work that provides that satisfaction. You're not going to be able to find the true completion in everything. Find the ones that fit your lifestyle. That's what I spend a lot of my time doing. I'm an executive coach. Right
Mhm.
now, I work with primarily upper level people, and they have a different view on life, you know?
Mhm. Uh,
So go ahead.
how so? Yeah, if you
Okay.
just
All
keep
right. I'm
talking
sorry.
about that, yeah.
Sure. Well, I wrote the book for senior executives at
Uh-huh.
corporations because they're to the point where they learned in order for them to get where they want to go, they need followers. The way you get followers is by building them, is by creating them, by helping them move up. They move up, you move up. So I wrote this book as sort of a guide for them, for those people who are really interested in continuing their journey and helping others move up within the corporation, within the small business, wherever they are, because that's your legacy. If you're going to live a life that involves work and managing people and leading people, then your legacy is the people that you've developed, the people that you've moved up, the people that you've helped succeed. So that's the mainstream through the book.
Very good. Loneliness on the job. The
Yeah.
question for you is how to become connected to win.
Well, that's a big issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's sad that that is one of the issues that our the head of the U.S. Um, organization on health has to address, that's so ingrained in our culture. You know, it's scary. It's really scary. And the fact that we are so isolated by our own communication methods, by being out on the phone and looking down instead of looking up and greeting, by not getting out there and doing things. In our community, we just had a little article in the paper. It said that people who walk together often pass each other by and they recognize faces, but they never say hello. They finally got together where they passed out paper to everyone they recognized on the walk and said, let's all gather at 8 o'clock Saturday morning and introduce each other, meet each other. There it is. That's how you connect. You connect because you reach out, you take the risk, and it's scary because there are
Mhm.
scary people in the world. So, how do you know when you take that risk? How do you know when you put yourself out there and make that connection? But it's a critical issue. It's something we all need. It's for our mental health and our physical health too.
Hey everyone, Caleb Kolb here, Chief Adventure Officer for Center for Victory. I want to tell you about 2 trips that we've got coming up. The first is going to be a trip to Glacier National Park with Eric and I. It's September 25th to the 29th, and then right after that, we're going to be heading to the Grand Canyon, doing the Grand Canyon rim to rim. That's going to be October 4th to 6th. For more information on these trips, visit centerforvictory.com under the Experiences tab. And if you're liking this episode of the podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends about us. See you on the trail.
I don't know if anybody caught that, but you said you are a dog sledder. Okay. So I don't know if everybody caught that, but how did you get into that? Like, you're from Jersey.
I'm from Jersey. All right. Yeah. At that time, and this was, I'm retired now.
Uh-huh.
This is when we were first married. We lived in an area very northern New Jersey, Pennsylvania border, and
Okay.
there was snow all the time. And my husband was a city boy and I'm a country girl and he wanted a dog. So he went out and he picked the biggest dog he could find, a big Alaska Malibu, beautiful dog. And we walked with him on the trails, but I wanted my own dog. So we each had a dog. So I sent him out again. He came back with 2. So now we have 3 dogs. Well, 2 people can't walk 3 big dogs. So our neighbors, and some people in our community, because of all the snow, hooked them up to a little sled and did some sledding, some mushing. In order to do that, it takes a lot of training. You need mentoring, you need equipment, you need practice, you need trails. So you really wind up working with a group of people. So we had a club that's about 60 or 70 people, and they're like this. They're clubs all over the US, Canada, actually around the world. We belong to the International Sled Dog Racing Association, and we learned about the sport. So we became mushers. And I'm telling you, there is nothing more exhilarating than being by yourself in the middle of nowhere, just surrounded with snow. And all you can hear is the sound of the dog's pads in the snow,
Hmm.
a little breeze through the tree. It's so white, so exhilarating. You find joy again. You find your life. You find that growth. So that was a great experience. Unfortunately, I had to stop doing it because we adopted a son and immediately got pregnant, then immediately got pregnant again. So within 3 years, we had 3 babies, and there was no way I could handle it all. But it was a wonderful part of my life, and I still keep in touch with many of the mushers and some of the people who run in the Iditarod,
Mhm.
and appreciate the sport and what they put into that sport. It's an investment.
Well, you are the first musher that I've had on this podcast. So
Well, I'm glad.
congratulations.
Thank you.
You do a lot of executive coaching. So one of the big topics out there has been for years is this whole idea or fascination with work-life balance. How do you say that? How do
I
you
will
see
not
that?
say work-life balance anymore. That's we passed that. We
Yeah.
passed that when we went to faster communication. The word now that people are using is work-life integration, which is a little
Hmm.
heavy-handed, I think. So I just say work-life harmony.
Yeah.
Bring it
I
together,
like
bring it.
that. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is find a way, if you want to go to that soccer game at 4 o'clock in the morning, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I mean, that means get that project done at 8 o'clock at night, the night before or the night after. Get the work done because your pride in your work, you don't want to let yourself down and the people around you down. The work is your commitment. You do it. You do it at your schedule. It's more control of your schedule and what's important to you and living your values, letting people know that this is important to me. I intend to be good at what I do, and being good at what I do is also being a good parent, as well as being a good employee, as well as being a good friend, a daughter, a caregiver, whatever you are, and feeling good about it and finding joy in it. So that's what I mean by that.
Yeah. And I'm gonna come back to, something I introduced you with. Like, what is the advice that you would give listeners and watchers here on how we can work to live, not live to work?
Manage your own schedule and speak the truth to whoever you're working with. It takes planning. It takes a lot of
Mm.
organization, and it takes a commitment on your part. You have to go out and beyond a little bit and say how you can get it done. And you may have to lead. You may have to become that leader that people shy away from by saying, this is the way that we can all accomplish what we need to do. There has to be unity, and there has to be commitment, and most of all, trust that we're going to get done what we commit to doing. It can be done that way. Um, to get it, when I was racing dogs, I was also working corporations and for small businesses. I'd get up in the trail at 5 o'clock in the morning to go out and run the dogs. It's the only way I could get back into the office by 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. You can do what you want to do. It takes a little work. It takes a lot of work sometimes. It's worth the investment. Life is so short. Why spend the time ignoring what you need to do for yourself? Sitting back doesn't work. Getting out and taking the risk works.
That's good advice. Now, with your book, um, does it go through some of the concepts that you're teaching, about teamwork and leadership and things like that?
It's all about teamwork and leadership. There's a perfect analogy between dog sledding and teamwork and leadership. With a team, you see the leader is not the one standing in front shouting. The leader's in the back. That team follows commands because they're a team, because they work together. I have a little story I can share with you, as a matter of fact, about my first sled dog experience, which is where this whole idea for the book really hit me. Shall I share it? Do you have time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
All
Yes.
right, it's sort of embarrassing, so I'm going to embarrass myself, but it's a learning experience. So sometimes you go through that. And I had a phenomenal team, and I just got them together, and we were my very first run, very first time on the trail in competition. I'd just been doing practice stuff with them. And a race is a 40, 50 teams into the number of dogs, a 3-dog team, 5-dog team, 7-dog team, 10-dog team. So I only had a little 3-dog team, but it was a really sharp 3-dog team because I was able to borrow it from a friend who was pregnant and couldn't run them, so I got to run them. And as we took off from the gate, and it's a 3-minute time shoot, all right? You 3 minutes before the next team follows you down your trail. So I take off my very first run, and I forgot my goggles, and
Oh,
I'm a novice at this. So we were running beautifully, and then we go under a grove of trees where it's really dark. And when you come out from under that grove of trees, you hit the sun, the bright sun. You can't see a thing without goggles on. But I knew something was up because the dogs' tails all went straight up. A little wag at the end, the ears were sharp. And that's like a warning system for you. You know what's ahead when you've got a team of dogs out there, because they know what's ahead. They can smell it, they can sense it. So I knew something was coming up. So as I started to focus, I began to see on the little mountain, little hill in front of us, I had caught up to the team before me. We had done something right. We had caught up that 3 minutes. So now I had a team on the trail that I wanted to pass to keep going. So we're advancing, and you never not work when you're mushing. One foot's on one of the runners, the other foot's pumping the whole time, because you want to keep the weight of the sled off the dogs. So you keep, and you want to keep the speed up. And they were speeding up, so I'm pumping ahead, and we're getting near that team. Now my job is to call out on by. Again, is that command that says, I'm going to pass you, giving the driver information and giving the command to the lead dog to make that move off the trail into the deeper snow, lead the team on by onto the trail. Well, I shouted, may I pass you? I asked that driver for permission to beat him.
wow.
Just plain dumb. You know what? I think in a way I sort of reverted back to the daytime work. When I'm in a corporation, you're passing somebody in the hall, may I pass you?
Mhm.
Asking for permission. I asked for permission. Well, as I did that, my lead dog, a gorgeous little dog, female, turned her head for just a second. We had eye contact for just a second. Oh yeah, I was supposed to say, "I'm by." As soon as she put her head back, her legs went out, haunches went down.
Mhm.
She moved that team forward. I shouted, "I'm by." We did a beautiful pass. But she brought me back to that sled. She reminded me that I wasn't working with that team at that moment.
Mm.
I was either scared about passing or didn't know what to do or was in my own mind and not with the team, not committed to that effort. And it taught me a lesson that I've lived with forever and I've shared with many people because I think we all do that. When we're tense, when we get a little stressed, we pull in,
Mhm.
and that's the time when we have to connect with others. That's the time we have to be part of that team and get that joint energy and move that energy forward to wherever it has to go. So that was the big lesson of my life that uh, I'm willing to share my embarrassment
That
because I think others
that was
learn from.
great.
Isn't that interesting?
It's very good. It's very good advice. Very good. Very good analogy too. I appreciate that. So taking some of your expertise, um, and looking at the new generation coming into the workforce. Okay,
Mhm.
because my kids just entered, into the workforce, and they're doing. I think they're doing great. I mean, I really think they are. But there's a lot we did with them, and I know the reason that I'm asking you this question is we have a lot of viewers that are tend to be a little bit younger. Okay. What advice would you give someone now just coming out, getting involved in the workforce, just life advice, leadership advice? What would you say to them?
I have three sons, so I know exactly who you're talking about. And of course, they don't listen to their mother. But when I talk to other people their age, um, what I tell them is take the risk. Find out what really satisfies you. Find out what gives you pride in doing whatever it is you want to do. There is something out there, there is some work that will make you feel good about yourself. You need that self satisfaction. And then look for others who are doing that work and make sure that you understand the ramifications of the work, what the byproduct of the work. Is it what you want? If you can find a commitment, if you can build a commitment to that task and to the people who you will be then associating with, it'll make it so much easier because you're going to be part of a connection then. You're going to be working with others. You'll know how to function within that group because we're all in different groups, aren't we? We're all in different circles. And when you find the job that has the interest for you, you want to be working with people who share that interest and have your same value system. When someone calls me to be a coach, and I hope you call me because I'm a good coach, but I do turn down, say, 3 out of 5 people because the first thing I start talking about is values. And if they can't define their own values, they need time to think. And I think what we all do before we take on a new job, take on new ventures, understand who we are and where we're going to go. And as a coach, I put them through a battery of tests, personality tests, and you can learn from those things where you need to round yourself out, the areas that you may have overlooked or bad habits that we develop as children to be able to find out what's going to satisfy us, where our values are. So that's my line. I mean, that's what I think is important. I hope it resonates with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because one of the things I really believe in is the values piece. Because I already wrote that down. You said that earlier. You hinted to it before, about when we create work life harmony, it's control your schedule, loving your values, right? But I think being authentic to those things too, and um, I
So
think it really hits the nail on the head there with saying like you need to figure that out because there's a lot of things that'll take you here, there, all over the place, and I think I see a lot of people, not just young people, but I see a lot of people who are very stressed, and a lot of times it just comes down to they either don't know their values or they're not sticking to them.
you're right. You're right. But I have another something that I'd like to add here.
Absolutely.
Rest. When I wrote this book, and as I said, I wrote it for the people I coached to develop the people below them to move up. Um, but while I was writing it, my 2-year-old grandson was diagnosed with brittle bone disease. I won't give you the Latin name for it, which means he breaks. And during his second year of life, he broke 5 different bones, one of which was so bad he had to be in a full body cast for 3 months. Can you imagine a 2-year-old in a full body cast? It was hell.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm writing the book at night because I couldn't sleep, worrying about him. And when I finished the book, I gave it to a well-known author to read. And he said, this book, yes, you deal with leadership, but you also deal with joy. Joy. I didn't write a book on joy. I wrote a book on leadership. Yes, I mentioned mental health because it's critical. I mentioned relationships and connections and how to survive. I didn't think about joy. And he said, yeah, there's joy in this book. Read it. Read your own book. So I went back, and it turns out, as I'm worrying about my son, my grandson, he was teaching me, because here he was dealing with all this pain, all this frustration, and there was joy. He brought joy. He was so glad to see us. He was so glad to do something. That joy that he gave me seeped into the book unknowingly. And I know now, after I read it later, I remember thinking I didn't need this section of the book, but I wanted to make sure that if someone took this advice, they understand to get the value for them, the joy for them, the regeneration for them, to find the satisfaction of making any commitment. And he gave me that joy.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. Before your last question here, that's the last question we ask everybody, but want to make sure people know how to find you. So how do people find you, Lucille?
Well, Madalena Transitions Management, MTM, mtmcoach.com. So if they can go to the website, mtmcoach.com, or I'm on LinkedIn under my name, Lucille Madalena, either way, but I'd love to hear from people. And I do give a free little book on self-coaching. If they visit the website, they can get that. MTM Coach. Thank you for letting me do that.
Yeah, MTM Coach, and then the book Moving On By. Yeah.
Got it.
Fascinating. So the last question here, Lucille, and then we'll let you go for at least today. How would you describe your best day yet? Since the podcast is your best day yet, how would you describe your best day yet?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't make it one. I'd say it's my wedding and the birth of each of my children. So there were actually 4. It's all about family, bringing that starting that family and growing that family. Every time a child is born is the best day yet, because you relive the other 2 births, and you relive the joining and making that family work for you, because that's your fallback. I mean, that's what makes it all work, isn't it? Those relationships, the support you get from family.
Absolutely. And I can definitely see the joy. So I will double down on the person that told you that as well with the book. So thank you for that. Thank you for being on. Really appreciate it. That's all for today, folks. Thanks for watching and listening. You can visit us at centerforvictory.com. And just remember, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, make this your best day yet. We'll see you soon.